Can I tell you something that took me an embarrassingly long time to figure out? The thing you want most in your life right now, the love, the peace, the money, the opportunity, it is not running away from you. It is stepping back because of the way you're reaching for it. And the second you understand that, I mean really understand it in your body, not just your head, everything changes. So stay with me. Because what we're about to talk about is probably the opposite of everything you've been told about how to get what you want. Let's be honest with each other for a moment. Think about the last thing you really, really wanted. Maybe it was a relationship. Maybe it was a job, a response, a sign, a breakthrough. And think about what you did with that wanting. Did you think about it constantly? Did you check your phone more than usual? Did you replay old conversations, rehearse future ones, try to figure out if you said the wrong thing, look for clues in every interaction? Did it take up space in your chest that felt less like excitement and more like a low hum of dread? If any of that sounds familiar, first, you're not alone. Not even a little. This is one of the most human things there is. We want something, and the wanting turns into gripping, and the gripping turns into anxiety, and suddenly what started as a beautiful desire has become this exhausting, heavy thing that we're carrying around everywhere, into our sleep, into our weekends, into the moments that were supposed to be peaceful. And here's what nobody tells you. That grip, that tight, desperate energy, it doesn't help. It doesn't speed things up. It doesn't show the universe how serious you are. It actually does the opposite. And once you see why, you cannot unsee it. There is a principle that sounds almost too simple when you first hear it. Who cares less controls it all. Now, before your brain immediately goes to, okay, so I need to become cold. I need to pretend I don't feel things. I need to act unbothered even when I'm very bothered. Stop. That is not what this means. That version is just another performance, and performing is just chasing in a costume. What this means is something much gentler and honestly much more radical than pretending. It means releasing the desperation. It means the difference between desire and dependency, and that difference is everything. Desire says, I would love this. This would be beautiful. I'm open to this. Dependency says, I cannot be okay until this happens. I am not whole without this. I need this to prove that I'm enough. Do you feel the difference in your body when you read those two things? One feels like an open hand. The other feels like a fist. And here's the thing. Life doesn't respond to fists. Life responds to open hands. Think about holding sand, just a handful of ordinary sand. If you squeeze your hand shut as tight as you can, what happens? The sand pours out between your fingers. The tighter you grip, the faster it goes. But if you open your hand, relax your palm, soften your fingers, the sand just sits there. It rests. It stays. This is not a metaphor about giving up. This is a metaphor about the physics of receiving. You do not receive by clenching, you receive by allowing. And allowing is a skill, one that most of us were never taught, because the world we grew up in rewarded doing, pushing, striving, hustling, proving. Rest was lazy, softness was weakness, wanting without working was naive, so we learned to grip, and now we're exhausted from it. But here's what I want you to consider. What if the exhaustion is actually information? What if your bone-deep tiredness right now is your inner self saying, hey, we've been doing this the hard way for a very long time, and I'd like to try something different. There are 3 ways to move through life when it comes to the things you want. 3 energies, and most people cycle between them without realizing it. The first is chasing. Chasing is living in the feeling of lack. It says, I need this now or something is wrong. I need this now or I've failed. I need this now or I'm running out of time. Chasing raises your shoulders. It shortens your breath. It makes your nervous system feel like it's always on alert, always waiting for the next piece of bad news. Your body does not know the difference between an imagined threat and a real one. So when you spend your days mentally chasing and grasping and worrying, your body experiences that as stress. Real, physical, cellular stress. No wonder so many of us are tired even after sleeping. The second energy is choosing. Choosing feels completely different. Choosing says, I want this, and whether or not it comes in the form I imagine, I am still okay. I am still whole. I am still worthy of a good life. When you choose instead of chase, you stop begging and you start collaborating. There's a quiet confidence in choosing that is almost impossible to fake because it comes from a real belief that you are enough right now, before the outcome, before the result, before the confirmation. And the third, this is the one where things get interesting, is allowing. Allowing is where miracles tend to hang out. Allowing is trusting that what is meant for you is already moving in your direction. You don't have to drag it. You don't have to convince the universe. You just have to stop blocking it with your own panic. Allowing doesn't mean doing nothing. It means doing from a place of trust rather than fear. And the quality of what you create from that place is incomparably better. Now I want to stay with you on something for a moment because this is where it tends to get personal. Let's talk about love because if there is one place that chasing energy absolutely loves to show up with its whole chest, it is in love and relationships. When you are chasing love, even if it doesn't look like chasing, even if it looks like being available, being understanding, being patient, bending yourself into whatever shape you think they need, what you are actually broadcasting is please choose me. Please see that I'm worth it. Please don't leave. And people feel that. Not always consciously, but they feel it. And it creates this odd dynamic where the more you pursue, the more the other person feels crowded and pulls back, and you interpret that pulling back as evidence that you need to try harder, so you try harder, and they pull back further. It's a cycle that exhausts everyone involved and never ends well. But when you choose yourself, when you genuinely, not performatively, but genuinely become interested in your own life, your own joy, your own becoming, something shifts. You stop shrinking to fit. You stop over-explaining. You stop giving more than you have in hopes that it will secure something. You just become yourself, fully and without apology. And that version of you, that is magnetic, not because you're trying to be, because you're at peace. And peace, real peace, is one of the most attractive things in the world. The same is true in every other area. With money, the tighter you grip it, the more frantic your relationship with it becomes. Every financial decision gets made from fear. Every expense feels like a threat. But when you begin to develop a quiet trust that there is enough, that more is always possible, that you are capable, and that life wants to support you, the energy around money shifts. Opportunities that you would have been too anxious to notice suddenly become visible. Clarity comes. Ideas come. Not because of luck, because of resonance. Okay, here's the part where I want to get very practical with you, because I don't want this to float away as a nice idea. I want you to actually feel the difference in your body today. The first thing, and this is foundational, is awareness. You cannot change what you're not willing to see. So start watching yourself, not with judgment, with curiosity. Notice when you are in chasing energy. You'll feel it before you can name it. It feels like a tightness in the chest, a compulsive urge to check something, a loop of thinking that keeps circling the same worry, a need to know right now how it's going to work out. When you catch it, and you will catch it, don't scold yourself. Just smile. Say, "Oh, there I go again," trying to personally manage the entire timeline of the universe. Humor is genuinely healing. It softens resistance faster than anything else I know. The second thing is permission. You need to consciously give yourself permission to relax. This sounds so simple, and yet so many people are walking around waiting to feel like they've earned the right to be at ease. They think, once I get this sorted, then I can relax. Once I figure this out, then I can breathe. But it doesn't work that way. The relaxation has to come first. The ease has to come first, because ease is the frequency that things can actually find you on. Try saying out loud today, "I allow things to come to me with ease. I don't have to force every good thing into my life. I can receive." Your body listens when you speak to it with kindness. It really does. The third thing is shifting the question. Instead of asking, "When will it happen?" which is a chasing question, a lack question, an anxiety question, ask instead, "Who do I get to be today? How can I feel a little more peaceful right now? What is one thing I could do in the next hour that would feel genuinely good?" Because when you align with the feeling, the form follows. It always has. The circumstances of your outer life tend to catch up with the vibration of your inner life and not the other way around. I want to tell you something that might make you laugh a little. The universe has extraordinary timing and absolutely terrible communication skills. It does not send you a calendar invite. It does not give you a heads up. It does not explain itself before it delivers. And when you demand to know the how and the when before you're willing to trust, you're basically asking for the punchline before the joke has been told. It doesn't work. Trust doesn't need a schedule. Trust just needs willingness, and willingness is enough. It is always enough to begin. Let's talk about something people almost never talk about in conversations like this: the grief of releasing control. Because it's real. When you've been in chasing energy for a long time, it can start to feel like identity. The striving, the figuring it out, the constant doing, it can feel like that's just who you are. And the idea of letting go can feel less like freedom and more like, "But what do I do with my hands? What do I do with all this energy if I'm not pouring it into worrying?" And that is such a valid thing to feel, because control, even exhausting, anxious control, feels like something. It feels like you're doing something. Letting go can initially feel like falling, like you've just handed the wheel to someone you haven't fully decided to trust yet. But here is what's on the other side of that feeling. Here is what people who have practiced this for a while will tell you. On the other side of releasing control is a quality of life that chasing simply cannot produce. You start to notice things you'd been too busy worrying to see. You become present in a way that makes every ordinary moment feel richer. You make decisions from clarity instead of panic. You speak more honestly because you're not afraid of every possible outcome. You tolerate less of what isn't right for you, not aggressively, but just naturally, the way you stop eating something that no longer tastes good. And the relationships, the opportunities, the experiences that enter your life from that place, they fit. They actually fit. There's no strain in them. Now, here's something I want you to sit with. This is the part that trips people up most. Caring less is not the same as caring nothing. I want to draw that line very clearly, because the misunderstanding of it is what sends people swinging from desperate chasing to cold detachment, and neither of those is the answer. The calm people in your life, the ones you probably admire more than you've said out loud, the ones who don't scramble for approval, who don't over-explain their decisions, who don't seem rattled when things don't go to plan. They're not indifferent. They care deeply. They just don't attach their worth to the outcome. Their peace is not contingent on life cooperating with their preferences at every turn. And that groundedness, that self-trust, that quiet, unshakable quality, it is not something they were born with. It is something they practiced. It is something you can practice. Think about the calmest person you know. Notice how other people listen to them. Notice how things seem to work out for them, not because life is easier for them, but because they meet what comes with a steadiness that changes how situations unfold. That isn't luck. That is a person who stopped wrestling with life and started working with it. Here are a few simple habits, and I mean genuinely simple, nothing that requires an overhaul of your entire life, that can begin to shift this in real practical ways. Create space. This one is underrated. If your days, your thoughts, and your emotional energy are packed so full that there is no margin, there is genuinely no room for new things to arrive. The universe or life or whatever word you prefer, it needs somewhere to put what it's bringing you. So leave a little space, 5 minutes of genuine quiet, a walk without your phone, not for fitness, just for being. A pause before you respond to something that usually triggers you. Space tells life, I'm available, and available is powerful. Respond instead of react. This one changes the quality of everything. When something doesn't go the way you planned, there is always a split second between the event and your response. The chasing version of you reacts, panics, over-explains, sends 3 texts, rewrites the plan, spirals. The choosing version of you pauses, takes one breath, asks, what would the settled version of me do here? Not the perfect version, not the enlightened version, just the settled one. And then does that. Celebrate yourself without waiting for permission. This one is quietly radical. Most people are waiting for the result before they allow themselves to feel proud. They're waiting for the validation before they allow themselves to feel confident. But that is completely backwards. When you treat yourself as valuable and worthy right now before the evidence, before the outcome, you stop living in a state of pending, and life tends to catch up to the story you're already telling yourself. So today, for no particular reason, acknowledge yourself for something. Not because you earned it, because you're here, because you're trying, because that counts. I want to say something about timelines because this is one of the quietest, most persistent ways we make ourselves miserable. We decide, usually without realizing it, that by a certain age or a certain point, life should look a certain way. And every day it doesn't, we experience it as a failure, as evidence that something is wrong with us, that we missed something or broke something or are simply not the kind of person who gets the things they want. And I want to offer you a completely different frame. Life is not late. Life is layered. Underneath the surface of what you can see right now, things are in motion. Seeds are growing in the dark before they ever break the soil. The fact that you can't see it yet does not mean it isn't happening. The most significant shifts in a person's life often look from the outside like they came from nowhere. But they didn't come from nowhere. They came from a long, quiet period of inner work, inner alignment, inner release that finally reached a tipping point. You are in your process, not behind your process. And the moment you stop measuring your life against an imaginary schedule, the schedule you made up, the one that never came with any actual instructions, something lightens. You start living in the time that is actually available to you, which is now. and now has everything you need to begin. So here's where I want to leave you today, and I mean this with every bit of warmth I have. You are not behind. You have not missed your window. You have not somehow failed to attract the life you want because of some flaw that can't be fixed. You are a person who has been trying very hard in the only way you knew how. And trying hard is not the problem. The problem is the flavor of the trying. When trying tastes like desperation, life moves away. When trying tastes like trust, when it comes from a belief that you are worthy, that life is on your side, that what is meant for you is already looking for you, trying becomes something else entirely. It becomes living. Here's the practice I want to leave you with. Today, choose one area, just one, where you have been gripping tightly. One thing you've been chasing so hard that it has started to feel more like a source of suffering than a source of hope. And instead of working harder on it today, do one very different thing. Let it breathe. Loosen your hand around it. You don't have to stop caring. Just stop white-knuckling it. Say quietly to yourself, I release the need to force this. I trust that what is mine will find me. I am open and I am ready and I am enough right now as I am without needing this to be solved first. And then, and this is important, do something kind for yourself. Not as a reward, not as a distraction, as a declaration that your well-being does not have to wait for circumstances to cooperate. Take a walk. Call someone who makes you laugh. Make something with your hands. Rest without guilt. Let yourself feel, even for 20 minutes, like someone who is already living well. Because that feeling, that is not an illusion. That is you practicing the frequency of the life you actually want. You don't need to run after life. Life is not a thing that is running away from you. It is meeting you right now, exactly where you are. The only question is whether you're standing still enough to feel it arrive. Soften your shoulders, unclench your jaw, take one long breath, and let yourself believe just a little that everything that is truly meant for you is already on its way home.